Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about when it is appropriate to build your squat and deadlift, arguably even the bench, off of accessory work. And, this is a bit of a nuanced topic, and this is something that I will do more with some really advanced lifters. It's stuff I do for myself, but, as a general rule, people notice with a large chunk of my clients, we come in and deadlift for volume. We squat for volume after their heavy peak sets, whether they're running a 5-3-1 type template, whether they're running, training maxes or whatever we're doing first. I tend to have them do a lot of squatting and deadlifting, okay, unless they're on conjugate. And the reason for that is these big movements for most people are going to build the most muscle, okay? Arguably, the squat and the deadlift done for volume are going to put the most muscle on your body possible. They're going to help you learn the movement pattern. They're going to help you ingrain the technique. They're going to get you better at doing the movements, and they're going to get you bigger. They're going to get you thicker, and it's going to be in a way that's very specific, to what we need on those movements. Right. Now, what you'll see with some of my lifters, and you'll see with me, particularly very advanced people, elite people, we don't always do that, do we? Right, you'll see me, again, I've just got an example here of doing belt squats, right? After doing a heavy single on squats, just skipping squats. And I think in this same workout I have above, I did a, heavy training max. Right, so what did I think I did on these, like a 525 squat, not for a max, then a 565 training max on a deadlift. And afterwards, my first exercises were the belt squat after the squatting. And then on the deadlift day, I went straight to the reverse hyper. All right, these are supplemental lifts, right? These are really accessory movements. We could describe them as assistants, though, couldn't we? Why? Because the belt squat follows the same movement pattern, foot place, and everything of the squat, right? Just pulls the back out of the equation and puts us into traction. The reverse hyper is very much a hip hinge, very much a hip hinge. It's in many ways similar to the deadlift, less muscle use, but still the biggest muscles get worked, don't they? Which is what, erectors, glutes, hamstrings? I think to a lesser extent hamstrings. I think the deadlift works the hamstring a lot harder than the reverse hyper, of course. But, throwing some glute ham raises, you're good. But similar movement patterns. But, you would ask that and say, why? When is that appropriate? Okay, how about someone who has a perfect squat technique? Okay, because at the time, and I may not be what I'm doing, by the time this video comes out, but at the time in that phase, I was doing a training max on the squat, then doing volume to build. Same thing with the deadlift. But it's other exercises in this case. But what does my squat and my deadlift look like? Look at my technique. My technique is dialed in. On the squat, my foot placement, my knee stacking, everything is dialed in. My squat form is very proficient there. Do I need further practice? No. And the only practice that I'm getting in that phase is heavy singles, which is my bread and butter. This is what I live on as a power lifter. And if I'm just getting one heavy single every week, practice for a meet, all right, training max, we're getting the benefits of max effort training, even though it's not a true all-out max. And then we just hypertrophy the muscles around it. Same thing with the deadlift, the technique. Look at my deadlift technique there when it comes back up. I have everything dialed in. I have my exact foot positions for maximum leverages. I have my wedging perfect. Everything is dialed in. I'm proficient at these movements. They don't need improvement. Therefore, I'm not going to benefit as much from practicing the movements in that case. And it might be the case for you as a lifter too. Or is your technique perfect? Is your technique perfect? And you may not have to. It could be the same with the benching. If your bench technique is already perfect for your singles, you could possibly just do dumbbell work or specialty bar work or whatever afterwards and build everything up if you were so inclined, if you had a reason to do so. But what's the reason on these squat and deadlift? How about recovery? Because I'm coming in my late 40s, going well over 500 pounds on the squat and the deadlift every week. I'm in my late 40s, guys. There's a lot of axial loading here. How about from a recovery perspective that these other movements might be easier on my recovery? All right, and let's come back over. People say, well, not everyone needs to lift heavy well, no, if we want to really maximize upper threshold motor units, even I know some bodybuilding coaches out there who've pointed that out, who follow the evidence that doing a heavy single before they do their pump work attenuates upper threshold fibers easier. Okay? There's benefits to doing that even chasing hypertrophy. Definitely if you're trying to get strong. So my point here is that there's more than one way to go about things, right? And they're all workable. But the thing is, it's not flip-flopping. It's not saying, oh, you said this works, so this shouldn't. That's not how it works. It's understanding how to use these tools for the specific athlete and the specific lifter. Now, in my case, they're doing this. What if I need to worry about recovery more? Well, the belt squat is dramatically easier to recover from a back squat. Even, we could argue specialty bars if you're trying to bench specialize and have some shoulder inflammation, might be better for some of your volume work, right? Some of my lifters do that, actually. So we replace that back off work, because they don't even have all this equipment, with their specialty bars that let them put less inflammation on their shoulders and elbows and stuff if they have problems with that from squatting. But in this case, the belt squat, we're fully in traction. Yet it builds all the primary movers of the squat the same way the squat does for the same movement pattern. It's a direct carryover. All right, deadlift, we could look at that and say, okay, how about that reverse hyper? We're working a good chunk of the most important movements in the deadlift, at least the primary movers, in a way that is very, very effective for recovery because our back is in traction. These traction movements are far easier to recover from, and they'll still build the muscles. Now, obviously, if you're not doing high volume deadlifting, you better be doing other stuff for certain parts of your back and stuff. Why? Because you need that isometric strength. But we don't have to do isometrics to build the muscles that need to be isometrically strong on the deadlift. What do we mean by that? Things like the traps, the lats. All right, we can do chin-ups, pull-ups, rows, things like that. So we can build those muscles dynamically to get stronger that we need to be isometrically strong on the deadlift. All right, the same thing with our ab work. We can do full range of motion abdominal work to build the abs that really are only used isometrically on the squat and deadlift. But the point here is that, again, there is more than one way to go about this, and understanding the why. Because here's what I'm going to say. If I have a lifter who isn't extremely proficient at the squat and deadlift, we're going to do more squatting and deadlifting because they need that. And they are phenomenal exercises for hypertrophy in their own right. They get you bigger and stronger. So some of this is looking at the needs of the very advanced to elite lifter who already has perfect technique, but then we can do things a little bit differently. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.